Hello folks, so we're back in Reverie getting a little bit more work done. We're getting a high pressure fault on the air conditioner. If you remember from the last video, I kind of got things cleaned up and trying to work that out, but I guess the sitting around for a long time, and the hoses I've cleaned for the past 5 years, so we have a debate on our hands. Do we do we barnacle bust the lines, or do we just spend a couple of dollars and just replace the line and start fresh for the next 5 years? So at the end of the day, is it better to use this chemical, the old familiar Barnacle Buster, or is it cheaper just to replace our hoses? So you'll be surprised to find out that it was actually cheaper to just, for my application, to just go out and replace all of the hoses and get a fresh start altogether, than to spend a bunch of money on chemical, which is, it's actually pretty harsh. Actually, the last time I used this thing, I burned a hole through my finger. So you got to be very careful with a Barnacle Buster. But at the end of the day, just buying a new hose and starting fresh from scratch was the way to go for me. So let's check it out. This job is pretty straightforward. All you need is, the length of the hose, a nice hose cutter, which you probably have from the time you started doing projects on your boat, and a flathead screwdriver or your drill with the right bit to make quick work of removing the clamps, because you're going to reuse the clamps. So no investment there, you already have them, and all you're going to do is buy some fresh hose to take care of your system. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to re-clean the sea strainer, and then we're going to change that hose, the intake hose from the through hole. And then on this side, we're going to replace all of the hoses for the air conditioner system. So we're going to replace the water feed, the pump line to the AC, and then the exit line out the through hole. And hopefully that will take care of our problem. So first things first, we're going to close the through hole. We close all the valves, make sure there's nothing there. We're going to check the sea strainer. Let me get my little bucket. Sea strainer's clean. So let's take a look inside. Okay, there's a little bit of debris, but nothing major. So I'm just going to suck the water out with a shop vac. Let's check this again. So I'm going to open so the water flow coming in is actually pretty good, and the water is clean, which means that the through hole is not clogged up. But I'm still going to change that hose so I can see better. This hose is 5 years old, and I've cleaned it a bunch of times, but you can only get so much out of the growth. So I'm going to vacuum that out and start with this primary hose and then work my way up. Okay. Next thing is to minimize the amount of water spill in the bilge. we're going to disconnect the hose and then put the vacuum on the one end and try to suck as much water out of it as we can. And a little trick, using your driver with the right size bit. And this for the third time. There you go. Okay, let's repeat the process. One hose out. It's kind of hard to see. The hose is stained from growth over the years, but the through part is clean. I mean, I don't know. Let me see if I can show you. But this is kind of what it looks like over time. Growth gets attached to the hose and it becomes really hard to get it off. You know, they don't make bottle brushes that long. So if every couple of years, you're better off just replacing the hoses altogether. So over time, the hoses will get growth and they'll get stiff. And it's not a bad idea to just replace them. You know, it's been 5 years and I've cleaned this hoses. I take them off when I do maintenance and I try to put as much degreaser and lime killer and stuff through it, but it's still, you can't get everything that's on a, you know, couple foot long hose. It just becomes impossible. And over time they get stiff and, you know, they lose their flexibility. So if you look in there, let's see if I can get it on the camera, you see that it is, you know, it's clean. It's the hole is clean, but you still have growth around the inside of the hose, which is really hard to get out. Trust me, I put everything inside of this. Short of putting acid, I put everything through. So the hose it's lived its useful life, so I'm just going to use it to as a measurement to cut a new length, and I'll put a fresh hose and I'll just keep working my way around the system. So with when you're putting new hose, you know, especially one that's been coiled for a long time, you're going to have to get it stretched out so you can get, you know, get a cut and keep it straight. Now, normally on a warm day, I just put these out on the sun. The sun will warm them up and then they'll get really nice and flexible and I can get them all nice and straight. Today, unfortunately, in Florida, it's 40 some degrees. It's supposed to get to 70, but that hasn't happened yet. So putting this outside on the sun is really not going to do much. So get the good old heat gun out. Just gonna warm up the hose so I can coil it. And you don't want to cook it. You just want to, or melt it. You just want to get it warm so it'll soften up. Put some hot air inside. Okay. We're gonna replace the next piece of hose, which is the feed into the manifold, which is this hose over here. So I'm going to replace that too. I just want to fresh hoses on the key places so I can keep an eye out on what's going on. Yeah, I know this is a pain, but at some point you're better off doing it, biting the bullet, spending a couple hours switching them off, and then you don't have to worry about it for the next couple of years. So when things are a little too tight, you can just soften them up, make it a little easier to remove. But we're dealing with plastic, so you got to be careful not to overdo it. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we got our next piece of hose. And same thing on this one. The inside, I don't know if I'm just trying to get it, some of it on the camera. The inside has growth that's attached, and even though you flush them and clean them, they still always something left behind. So this got cold again, so I'm gonna warm it up and then cut the length to replace that section of the hose. Okay, I went ahead and replaced the second hose and secure it. It's kind of hard to film doing that one, so I just went ahead and took care of it. Now, moving to this side, next hose in line is this one, which is goes into the pump. Okay, this next part, I'm not going to be able to get enough of an angle on the camera to film, so I'm just going to replace it and I'll show you what it looks like after I'm done. Okay, so replace the main water feed. Now I'm replacing this hose, which takes the water from the pump to the air conditioner intake. Now this hose is really old, is probably the original hose from the old AC, so it's way overdue for a change. So this is the hose I'm taking off, and we'll replace next. All right, so next thing is replacing the intake and outflow of the air conditioner unit. And on the Dometic, at least this size, it's a 12,000 BTU, it's a 5/8 internal diameter. So that's something that when you're playing with these hoses, make sure you have the right size hose for the application that you're using it. So I'm going to replace those, and that should be the last part of it. So let's get to work. So you see I removed the hose from the out of the pump to the in of the air conditioner, and that requires a 5/8 internal diameter. So, and then I'm also replacing the outflow, basically the water that goes out. I'm going to replace this hose too. This has been here forever, and it runs underneath the V-berth, and it goes out that through hole. So I'm going to replace that hose just so I have fresh all the way around. So let me put the camera down and do a little cutting and replacing. We have changed all of our hoses. So we have fresh hoses everywhere. Double clamp everything and secure everything. So we're going to turn the water on and see how we do. Okay, so we got all our hose replaced. Just primed the system, and everything is working as intended. So we're in good shape, and one more project done. Kind of getting a Reverie back on track for the sailing season. So let me just show you how it looks like now that it's completely clean and redone. All right, everything is replaced. New hoses all the way around. You can see the lines are full, so the water is running as intended. Everything is full. The new lines are nice and clean, so we'll be able to monitor on our weekly maintenance that the system is clean and operating as intended. Over here, our water outflow for the AC is running great, and we have a nice clean line coming in, clean C strainer, so we're all good to go. Well, while I'm at it, I needed to also clean the through hole for the roll water intake for our diesel engine. The divers were coming in to clean it from the bottom. We were not getting a lot of water flow. Remember when I was running the engine last video, we had some water coming out, but we had a lot of white smoke. Well, it turns out that our raw water intake also needed some attention on the engine side, and also our exhaust mixing elbow needed some TLC. We took it off as 50% clogged, so we're having it serviced as we speak. But I'm gonna basically show you a little trick I use to make sure that we're getting plenty of water flow. So all you need is a clear piece of hose and a shop vac. So I removed the regular sea strainer hose, which is that black one you see there, and I just put a clear longer hose. The reason it's longer is because I can raise it above the water line and it'll keep water from just spewing out of the end, and I can control what's going on. So I'm going to show you a little trick of what I'm doing here. Here is, I have the hose connected, and I'm going to open the valve, and when I open the valve, you can see water comes up to where the water line is, but no further. Now, what I did, and I've done this already a couple times, is I'll take the shop vac and I take the shop vac and connect it to the exhaust. The hose is connected to the exhaust side of the shop vac. So when I turn it on, it's going to blow air through, and it's going to blow air through the hose and out the through hole. So let me show you what that looks like. So you cannot feel it like I can, but I can feel the water being pushed underneath. And what that's doing is just blowing whatever debris is stuck on the other side of the through hole. It's probably better if I explain that without the thing running. So when I'm blowing air through, underneath the through hole on the other side, there's a little basket grid that protects the through hole from getting lines or bags or things like that sucked through and then basically fouling the raw water intake side of the house. So when I'm blowing air through it, it's pushing whatever's sitting on that protective little basket out. And it should be, if it's clear, basically I can blow the water back out through the hose. And you can see now, you know, we're getting a lot of flow, so it's clean. Let me try to get this angle here. So basically now water flows pretty steadily, and actually we get a good amount of flow even though we're this high above the water line. So that means that the through hole is now pretty clean. Now that it's clear, I should be able to blow through the end of the hose and blow the water completely out of the through hole. There's nothing creating resistance or causing any problems. So let's see if I can show it. So you can see the water is up to right there. You can see when I move it, you can see the water. Now I can blow it out. So we now have a nice clean through hole with nothing blocking it. So when I was doing this the first couple of times, water was not coming out or coming into the boat with force. It was just a trickle. There wasn't enough pressure. After I started blowing air through it and clear the outer side and drain water through it several times, and you know, there were a couple of pieces of barnacle, nothing major. So there were probably a little bit of grass or sludge or something on the other side that was keeping water from coming in. Now that it's blown clear, we're getting nice water flow. So we should be able to get our sea strainer plugged back in, get our pump reconnected once we get our elbow back from the shop, and we be back in business. So again, nothing ever overcomplicated. Actually pretty straightforward. Anybody can do it. All it takes is, you know, take your time, have a little bit of patience, and just think through the problem. So that's it for this through hole cleaning. Well, that's it for today. We got our through holes projects cleaned up. Our air conditioner is working phenomenally. It's actually it's reverse heat, so we have a nice so the temperature up inside the cabin is nice and warm compared to outside. So we're doing good here. I'm gonna wrap it up for today, and we'll see you in our next project. See you soon.